You are listening to Quality Time, a podcast designed to support Nebraskan providers through their journey with Step Up to Quality. I am your host, Colleen Schmidt. Get ready to listen as we prepare to elevate each other as we step up to quality. Welcome back, listeners. Today, our guest is Jaci Foged, and our topic is CHIME. So, Jaci, we're going to jump right in, but can you share with our listeners a little bit about your story? Tell us what you do now, what your role is now, and maybe even share a little bit about how you got there.
Yeah, sure. So I am currently an extension educator. I work for the University of Nebraska, Lincoln, and I am primarily serving Lancaster County. Currently, I also have a special role where 80% of my position is focused on working on a grant project that we've received, our team. And the project is focused on sharing CHIME specifically with Head Start partners across the United States, including some in Nebraska. So I spend a lot of my time talking about and thinking about CHIME.
Awesome. And what kind of led you to your role at the Extension office, Jaci? How'd you get there? What did you do before you were working with Extension?
Yeah, sure. So I was the director of the UNL Children's Center prior to taking my position at Extension, which oddly enough, I was looking for jobs for my husband who was graduating with his master's degree. And I came along this particular extension educator position and was like, well, that one's for me. So that's how I moved from the early childhood kind of in the program, in the classroom type position into extension.
Awesome. I didn't know that about you. I didn't know you wore that director's hat. So when we're talking about CHIME, I want you to think about when you were a director, and I'm sure you connect the dots all the time on why that matters. But before we get into those connections, can you share with our listeners, first of all, tell us what it is and tell us why it was created?
Yeah, thanks. So CHIME stands for Cultivating Healthy, Intentional, Mindful Educators. And it really is an 8-week mindfulness and compassion-based program for early childhood educators and practitioners of all kinds. So it might be directors, it might be assistant teachers, full-time head teachers, transportation, nutrition, whoever it is with early childhood, CHIME is really for you. We have a birth to 5 handbook. And then last summer, actually, we piloted a K through 5th grade handbook. So actually, we have the gamut filled if it's something that's of interest to you and you're maybe a little bit outside of that birth to 5 age range. We can still support you in that way. But really, CHIME started back in 2017. It was really just kind of an idea. Dr. Holly Hatton had just joined UNL back in that time. I think she came end of 2016, beginning of 2017. And that was something that she brought with her of what she'd been studying and learning about and really doing some research with. And so we started trying it out here and did our first pilot. That pilot in 2017 was with 3 childcare programs in Lincoln and then one out in Seward. One was a spiritual program, so facilitated within a childcare that's inside of a church. But then the other ones we would say had typically lower income families participating in the program. So we have that rural and urban connection with that very first pilot.
So our listeners who are listening might recognize when you said Dr. Holly, because we had invited her during season 1 to be our guest, and she shared all sorts of strategies and ideas, and she just was a really fun person to chat with about self-care. But I guess I didn't connect the dots that she was the one who kind of initiated this project and got that going. So I love that it's been going on since 2017. We've gone through a lot over the last few years collectively as a workforce, as a community. Everyone's kind of gone through the ringer with some things. And I think mindfulness is always important. But given the last few years that our workforce has really gone through all the different kind of changes and things. Can you explain or share thoughts on why you might feel is CHIME more important than ever?
Yeah. Well, our field certainly hasn't gotten more easy or simplified with just the research that we know. Childcare providers are not paid what they're worth. The
Mhm.
burnout is incredible.
Yep.
The support just isn't necessarily there for our field, although I would say Nebraska in general is doing really good in trying to
Agree.
support our providers. But it's a really tough position to be in. And even though we are so thankful for everyone who ever puts on the early childhood hat, we can see why it's a difficult hat to wear. And I work a lot with facilitators that are coming on to deliver CHIME. And like I said, with that project that I'm on right now, for most of my position, I had the pleasure of talking to one of the facilitators who shared that becoming a facilitator was so important to be able to share it with her staff, but she didn't even realize what she herself would get out of it and how
Yes.
necessary it is for her, not only as a administrator in her organization, but also just as a parent of someone with 3 small children herself. So mindfulness is for everyone. Learning to be compassionate with yourself, that's for everybody. So I highly recommend it.
I so agree with that. And what you're saying resonates with me. Like, I am a gal who likes to continue to learn about mindfulness and self-care and self-love and, building up sense of self and how that impacts the job you do. And I do notice a change from, just trying to be a little bit more present with knowing that I'm not going to be perfect at all of those things, but just striving to learn and grow. And I will be honest, I haven't gone through CHIME and I feel like it's for me. I'm all in. Like, I would love to learn more about how to support those holding the babies in a real way to give them some actual strategies that can help them be more. I feel like we have to be, realistic at what the job at hand is. It's a physically, mentally, emotionally challenging job. Doesn't mean it's not joyful, but when we recognize that working in early childhood is hard, like, we need strategies and tools in our tool belt to help support us to do that. So I'm not going to ask you to share everything from the training, but can you share maybe a few strategies that are your favorites or your best tools for success for mindfulness and well-being?
Yeah, so there's an app for everything, but I recommend mindfulness apps, and Headspace is my go-to app because I like the voice that's on that one. So many apps are out there. Calm, Headspace. Oh gosh, there's so many, but I would recommend trying them out. Most of them have no cost to start, and then they kind of get you hooked, and there's suddenly a membership that you can choose to join or not, or you can just use the free part of that. But what I like about that is it'll randomly, like in the morning, I'll get almost like a pop-up that says, Headspace, and then it kind of gets you into like, oh yeah, I should do that right now. So it kind of focuses your attention that, oh, maybe you should practice this right now. Also, just in general, a lot of us have some sort of fitness tracker, like an Apple Watch or whatnot. And I swear that it pops up that I should take a minute to breathe at just the right time. So again, if you have one of those and you have the ability to let that thing pop up on your watch or whatever to tell you like, hey, just take a minute to breathe, that it doesn't hurt to take the reminders where they're at. We offer a lot of tools that you receive when you participate in CHIME in our participant handbook, as well as we just bring a lot of them to class. Some things you get to keep, some things are like a make and take during the class. We certainly talk about how to utilize them while we're together in the class and community. But another really great one for me is just the glitter bottle. That whole idea that you shake it all up and the glitter is really swirling, and you can think about how those could be thoughts rumbling around in your head, and you can notice there's so many you can't even see through it. But honestly, just the idea of like, just sit the bottle down, sit your body down. If you watch and you breathe, the glitter does settle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just such a visual reminder of our brains are all doing that all day long. If you're a director, you're wearing all them hats and it's hard to go from one thing to the next without, thinking you're missing something. But if we can just train our bodies and train our minds to sit down and slow down, we will be able to see a clear path forward. So the glitter bottle is also a favorite.
You know what I've been trying? So I've been trying to have more mindfulness as a daily routine practice. And when people say the word meditation, I think it gets a bad rap. Like I think in my mind that is like crisscross applesauce, like Om. And maybe sometimes it is, but it can also be other things. So do you want to share a little bit about what else that can look like? Does it always have to be, I must have a 20-minute time period where I, close my eyes and really get in a meditative traditional stance? Or what is it? Like, what is mindfulness?
Yeah. And specifically meditation, that's just one piece of mindfulness. One piece of yoga practice is that being able to calm your mind and focus on just one thing. So the research recommends 10 to 15 minutes a day, 6 to 7 days a week, because we want it to be a practice. And that means you have to do it often to get good at it. So 6 to 7 days a week, 10 to 15 minutes, but it doesn't have to always be all at once. It might be 60 seconds today. It might be 5 rounds of 60 seconds tomorrow at different times sporadically throughout the day. We just want you to fit it in. It could be something as simple as paying attention to how it feels when you're hand washing the pot after dinner. What's the water feel like? Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it slippery? Is it gritty? Like specifically just thinking about one thing on purpose and being curious about it. It doesn't have to be listening to that guided meditation on the Headspace app. It could be that you go sit outside on your porch. It was a beautiful day yesterday. Today's a little bit warmer, but go outside, sit on your porch and think about all the different sounds that you're hearing. That is paying attention right now. It's training your brain to say, oh, wait, this is what I'm here for right now in this moment. So make the most of the little moments you have, and eventually you're going to get really good at it.
I need more of that in my life. I've been having to set a timer, and I have to start really small because my brain is like a squirrel running around in it. So when I try and sit and just think about one thing, it's hard for me. So I've been trying to set a 5-minute timer and just sit down. Or I love being outside. And I like what you're saying about, it can just be sitting out there and paying attention to what do you like, not being on my phone, scrolling through all the things that drains me. That's not, that's mindlessness. Like I'm just mindlessly looking at whatever random recipes or anything like that. So how does it impact you as an early childhood educator or just as a human? Once we start getting these practices more in place and we're more consistent with our really trying to just be present, what happens then? What is it? What's in it for me? Why do I want to do this?
Great question. What's in it for you is the whole purpose is that we understand ourselves in the moment so that what comes next is the best version of ourselves. So if I can slow down and realize, oh, my 16-year-old just said to me is not sitting right and I want to explode, but I'm not because I'm thinking about it. Hopefully what comes out then after I've paused is the best version of myself. So by practicing being aware of what's going on inside of us, we can, when we're in the classroom or at home or wherever, we can have the best version of us come out, which is what our children in our own homes, our children in our classrooms, our colleagues in our work, and our family members all deserve, which is the best version of ourselves, the compassionate version, not only for them, but for ourselves too. Because like you said, it's hard and you feel bad when you can't remember to practice or you don't have time, but that is what everybody's mind is like. Everybody is super busy. No one has enough time So just know that it's normal. Those feelings and those things that you're thinking, that's normal. Everybody has those. But again, with practice, we can get better and we can get stronger at whatever it is we're practicing. And in this case, it's paying attention.
And I think everybody wants to be the best version of themselves. Like we all want to show up, especially when working with young children. Like we all need to be self-regulated to help them learn how to also regulate. Like it has to be, I'm in control of my feelings, thoughts, words, actions before I can support a little one who's not, So I feel like that just hits so it makes me feel like, gosh, that's the why behind it. Best version of myself. I want to be that, showing up for my family, for my kids, for, like you said, colleagues, like everybody. So Jaci, sign me up. I'm in. You got me sold. I want to know a little bit more about it. So you mentioned it's an 8-week training. Are they offered in person, Zoom? What's the story?
Yeah, so thank you. We would love to have more people sign up. Our team, many of us are CHIME facilitators, and we're delivering it kind of all the time. You can reach out to any of the team and say, hey, I have a group of people I want to take to go through the CHIME program, or I just have myself. Mm-hmm. And we kind of spread it around, look who's got a class coming up, get you the information so you can register and get you started in the soonest class that we can get. That being said, you might have to wait a little bit, and with waiting can be really hard. I get that too, but we do kind of have a waiting list. So sometimes we'll have somebody who can't join a class that's about to start. So we do keep a tally and we do keep a list, and we do our best to schedule those for when it works really well for people. We do offer CHIME both virtually and in person. So if you want an in-person class, you might have to wait a little bit longer depending on where you're at in the state of Nebraska or beyond if people are listening to this outside of our great state. But yeah, so it is virtual, definitely delivered virtually, also delivered in person. It is an 8-week commitment, and we do ask for that. So if you already know you can't come on week 6, that's not the weekly program for you. Wait till the next, because we know things come up and there might be reasons you might miss a class, but they are important. So at least when you sign up, we want you to be dedicated and available for those 8 weekly sessions.
So let's talk turkey. How much is there a cost, and how long is each session each week?
Okay, yeah, so let's start with the easy part. The sessions each week. So the first one is our introduction to CHIME, where you're going to learn a little bit about mindfulness, social emotional learning. What is the class going to look like? Get some tools in your toolbox to get through the next 7 weeks there. That first session, that intro, is 2 hours. Mm-hmm. The 7 sessions after that meet for an hour and a half in the class, whether it's in person or on Zoom. And then we have 30 minutes of what we like to call work assigned. And what that means is during the class, we're learning about a specific piece or portion of mindfulness. So maybe it's mindfulness and listening. We're learning about it. We're giving you some activities you can try out at home or in your classroom or program. And then we ask you to take that to where you have children, maybe it's your house or wherever, your program, and try it out. Notice what happened and actually reflect on it. In addition to that small activity we ask you to do and reflection about it, we ask you to start to try to get your way up to 10 minutes, right, of practicing meditation or another kind of practice. Could be yoga. It could be more reflection. But we definitely want to see you start to practice these things so that you can grow and you can be better. So the price, it can vary, which I know you might not want to hear that, but it depends on if we have grant funding. So we have been blessed. Almost every CHIME class we've had since 2017 has been funded through a grant or sponsored by an extension educator or one of our specialists like Dr. Holly Hatton. But those have kind of come to an end lately. And so right now, a current class that's posted right now, it's $135 for the 8 weeks. But I want you to keep in mind, in Nebraska and in several other states, you do earn in-service hours for that. So if you participate in full, meaning you come to all the in-person or virtual sessions and you complete that work, you earn up to 16 hours of in-service. So that's a huge, big chunk that you get taken care of in just those 8 weeks. And you also receive your participant handbook, which is full of materials for you to continue to use and strategies moving forward, as well as just having the community members, your colleagues who are joining. Maybe it's from your own program or another program. You get to meet those people and they kind of become your CHIME team. And people always wonder what comes next. Like, oh, these 8 weeks are over. I can't believe it. It was so hard 8 weeks ago and now I'm going to miss it. A lot of them stay connected through text messages, emails, monthly check-ins. So you get what you get out of this program, what you give, kind of. Yeah.
I love that. I think that's true for any professional development you go to. Whatever you put in, you get out. But this sure sounds like it's more than just the 16 hours. Like this is life skills that you're taking with you to just better your interactions with people in your life. So I think, okay, where do I go to find out more? Like, where can I get on the wait list? How can I sign up?
Yeah, so if you go to our website, it's child.unl.edu/chime. You'll go right to the page. However, if you go to child.unl.edu, you'll be able to find it up at the top of the red bar, take you right to the website, and then you can ask for some more information.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. Guess what I'm doing right after we're done with this? I'm in, just because I am very passionate about taking care of ourselves as early childhood workforce members. Like, I think when I reflect on my little burnout journey when I was a classroom teacher, that is a huge part of it, was my lack of self-care. So for season 2, our podcasts are kind of getting closed out with sharing a little bit about our favorite self-care strategies that we personally use. So I know self-care is part of mindfulness. I'm sure very much part of the CHIME program too, I'm assuming. But we want to know about yours, Jaci. Like, what do you do to recharge your battery in a real way?
So I've been practicing yoga, but more so now than ever. And just the joy of exercise and running and focusing and giving back to myself is my self-care. So whether it's running, practicing yoga, taking a walk with my family in the evening, exercise is my way of self-care.
Me too. And my exercise looks very different than it did when I was a 20-year-old girl who could run up and down hills. And now I just walk them. But it still fills my bucket. So I think that's something we can all relate to. It just makes you feel better. Oh, Jaci, this was perfect. I feel we shared a lot of good info with our listeners on where they can learn more, the why behind it. Is there any last thing that you want to share before we close out?
I guess I would just share that you might feel like 8 weeks is an eternity when you're a classroom teacher or a director, and that there are so many other things that are pulling you away. But I promise you, once you get through that first class, you really will look forward to the time that you're taking for yourself to end up supporting yourself and the children that you work for. So if you're on the fence, I would go for it. And I think you're going to find that the time just flies by.
Jaci says, go for it. The time will fly by and be well worth it. Oh, thank you so much for sharing, Jaci. And thank you, everyone, for spending quality time with us. Please join again as we chat about future topics to support our Nebraskan providers on their journeys with Step Up to Quality. Until next time, bye-bye.